Hello, everybody. My name is Stephen Rabinowitz, and welcome to the World Cup 2026 Extra Time channel. We are on Instagram, WCE Extra Time, YouTube, World Cup 2026 Extra Time, Facebook, World Cup 2026 Extra Time. This is week two of our previews of the 12, yes, 12. We've increased it by one third groups in 2026. We have Group E today, and Group E is an interesting group. Obviously, we're getting closer as we're recording this. This is May 24th, just to let you know. So this is like almost pretty much the end of the domestic seasons, club seasons for football. So now we're really into World Cup time, and you're going to see a lot of roster announcements in this group because now rosters sort of around this week, next week, even a little bit of last week, announced their full 26-man rosters for the World Cup. So let's kind of talk about it. We'll kind of sprinkle them in, but let's talk about Group E again. It's an interesting group. I'll start with Germany because Germany is one of the powers in world football. Germany is it's an interesting team. They're FIFA ranked 10th. So they're still not the power that they were when they won in 2014. They did qualify in Group A as the top through the group for the World Cup qualifiers. They were the top team in their group. They lost to Slovakia in the first match, 2-0, and then won five matches where they outscored the opponent 16-1. So Northern Ireland, Luxembourg, and then again Slovakia, you didn't stand a chance. So Germany didn't have to stumble too much to get over here. One of the most successful World Cup nations. They've won four times, 54, 74, 90, and 2014, and have appeared in eight finals. They have finished on the podium, that being top three, 12 times out of 20. It's a pretty good percentage. However, in 2022, they lost to Japan. They did draw against Spain and they beat Costa Rica, but for the second straight World Cup in a row, they failed to make the knockout round. They didn't do it in 24. They won in 2014. Didn't make it out of the knockouts in 2018. Didn't do it in 2022. So they have a little bit to prove. Their formation is an interesting one. It is a 4-2-3-1. They rely on possession. They have fluid attackers and versatility. Possessions were their best. Their midfield isn't flashy like Spain. They're not punishing like Argentina, but you're still playing in Germany. You're still at the highest of levels, and that's going to be their big help in their what is going to be now the 21st World Cup appearance. They're going to be able to kind of make sure that they keep the ball the most, they get the most shots out there against the opponent. And how do you get the most shots? You have the best player on the team, and you have Florian Wirtz. He currently is a midfielder for Liverpool, 5 goals in 31 appearances this year. Started with Leverkusen, moved on to Liverpool. He was on the Euro 2024 roster, had the opening goal in their 5-1 victory against Scotland, became the youngest person to score in the European Championship. He was only 21 years and 42 days when he does that. He's not going to be too old now, and that's a very young team. That's the one thing about this team that's going to be very interesting. They're pretty much into their new era of players, and that's going to be a huge plus because I think that might have been that little, I want to call it purgatory period, but a period where it was a lot of iffy situations for them. I think kind of makes this a very big World Cup for Germany to kind of just get them back to the world scene, even if they don't do too much in the knockout round, in my mind. And they got their World Cup roster around, but the biggest story is going to be the goalie. And that's what I want to talk about. That's Manuel Neuer, who is their 2014 World Cup winning goalie. He won the Golden Glove for the most clean sheets of the tournament, clean sheets against Portugal, clean sheets against the United States. Did very good at extra time when he beat Algeria in the round of 16, and a clean sheet of the World Cup against France when they beat them in the quarterfinals. But he's 40. It was a little bit of a surprise that he was named to the World Cup. He hasn't played internationally in 2 years. The last time he did was the Euros in 14, and he'll be back as the number one goalie in this World Cup, and that's going to be very interesting to see for a Germany team that I think has so much good youth out there that even relying on the past for just a second might be the wrong way to go. Moving on to the team that is next on my list because I wrote them next, but not because they're they're next on the board in terms of ranking. They're the 82nd ranked team in the FIFA World Cup rankings, and they're so unknown that they were pronounced as Curacao by Hall of Famer Wayne Gretzky of the NHL when they did the World Cup group reveal back in December. It's Curacao, by the way, if you didn't know what the pronunciation was. They finished in the top of Group B in I think it was in the third round of CONCACAF qualifying. Finished ahead of teams like Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. They finished 7-0-3. No losses in 10 matches. This is their first World Cup. It is the smallest in population and land area to ever make the World Cup. 156,000 people only in the country of Curacao. Just remember, there's like 7 countries as cities in the United States with over 1 million people. A lot of those cities where they'll be playing in the World Cup. Formation, tactical approach, a foundation of defensive solidity and disciplined structure. It's a 4-3-3. They've been over to a 4-2-3-1. Going to be an interesting thing to see, especially how Curacao kind of does in their maiden voyage. They're probably the most underdoggiest of underdogs, if that even makes sense, how I just said that. Leandro Barcuna is the player to watch, the defender. 4 points in World Cup qualifying. Currently, one of the only ones that has played kind of very much overseas. He's played with Aston Villa, Reading, Cardiff City, Watford. Currently plays with Igdir in the Turkish First League club. And he's kind of a Netherlands guy. He was played for the Netherlands Antilles under 20 team, various Dutch teams. His first cap was in March of 2016, so he's been around for 10 years, and he'll be very, very interesting to see in this World Cup. Eloy Room is the goalie. He actually doesn't even play for the first league in the United States. He plays for the second league, Miami FC. That's in the United Soccer League. Born in Netherlands, eligible to represent through his father. Made his senior debut for the country way back in June 6th of 2015 in a 1-0 win against Trinidad and Tobago. He was part of the Curacao squad in the CONCACAF Gold Club, and he was named in the CONCACAF Gold Cup qualification tournament and had a clean sheet against Jamaica to get over here in the World Cup. So that's Curacao, a team that's going to be very interesting just because of the fact that you love these young teams and these teams with kind of little engine that could, small country mentalities in this World Cup. They can at least get a win over the 3 other teams in their group. It'll be a very huge accomplishment. But you're going to get good stories like this when you expand the World Cup, and we've seen it. A team that is not as unfamiliar with the World Cup spotlight as the next team out there, that's Cote d'Ivoire. We'll call them Ivory Coast because we're uneducated swine apparently here in America. Just kidding. No, we're not. FIFA ranked 34th in the World Cup. Their qualifying was what's the word? Oh, spectacular. 8 wins, no losses, 2 draws, no goals given up. Not a single one. 25 goals altogether. Although, to be fair, 16 of those came in 2 outings against Seychelles. They only averaged like a 1.13 goals per game in the other 8 qualifiers. So even though it does say 25 goals in that entire World Cup, a lot of 1-0s and 0-0s in there when you kind of look back at it. This is a team that is not been in here since the 2014 season. They actually made 2006, 2010, and 2014. Haven't done anything since. 3-5-1 in their first 3 tournaments. They have not reached the knockout stage. Don't know what the line of demarcation is to reach the knockout stage anymore, but we're here. The formation of this team is going to be a little bit interesting under Coach Emerse. It's a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. It can be adaptable to whoever they're playing. You got fast wingers. They can't really break the low blocks as much in this. They're capable of dominating the ball when they need to, but they will be very happy to counter. And you're going to have to be patient. The team is chaotic a little bit. It may not be the best thing to do against teams that are more disciplined, like Germany, against a team that you can dominate yourself without being chaotic, like Curacao. I think Ivory Coast has a lot of the qualities that you can to have a successful team in this World Cup. And their player to watch on the midfield side is Frank Kessie. He's a midfielder currently playing for Al Ali in the Saudi League, played with Milan and Barcelona in 2017-22. Money talked. What can you say? Named in Ivory Coast squad for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. He capped the team in the tournament's opening match. He came off the bench in the second half in a round of 16 match against Senegal. Came off, actually managed to score the equalizer from a penalty in the 86th minute of that game. Became the official team captain of the national team in 2024. And he's made, as of this year, 100 international appearances and did it when he beat Burkina Faso in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations round of 16. So, an interesting team out there. Not really too many big news because they did announce their roster. Ahmed Diallo and Yan Diomande going to be a very interesting attack question. They have ample experiences on the defensive midfield, but the attack is going to be very important for them to get out of the group stage and then again put themselves in a favorable position in the group in the World Cup. And to again get out of the group stage, that's great. But still, that's not even you still have to win 5 more matches after that. And, where you're going to be placed in the round of 32 is very important. That'll help out a lot if they can get a good attack. The goalie here is a guy who's played at Turkey by the name of Yuhia Fofana. He plays for Super League Cup Kaykor Rizspor. No goals conceded in 10 matches. Was with France in the World Cup U17 and U19 tournaments before. So Cote d'Ivoire, an interesting story in here. Back after over 10 years. We'll see how they do in this World Cup. The final team in this group is Ecuador. Ecuador is going to be a fairy tale like story. It'll be this is a team that is one easily had one of the greatest qualifying campaigns. Let's just talk about what they did. Their FIFA ranked 23rd, by the way, but they had a second place finish in the Commonwealth qualifiers, even though they had an ineligible player. So they were already deducted 3 points, and they still finished 8-8-2. Or it was like 8-2-8. That would be wins, losses, draws, with the 14-5 goals against. They had they only conceded 5 goals in 18 games, and La Tricolor, weird name, was undefeated in their last 11 matches, and the only team that was better than them is Argentina, who we'll get into later on. Formation is a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1-1. It could be a 4-2-3-1. It could be a 5-3-2. You need a sturdy backline for this team, and that's what they're going to show. Defensive counterattack, stout defense, stamina, intensity, and pace. If they can win a game 1-0 all of the time, they're perfectly fine with that. The problem is that leads their defense is a little bit of an issue. A little bit. I mean, their offense is a little bit of an issue. Like I said, they'll be happy to win a game 1-0, but I'm not necessarily sure if they're going to win every game 2-1 or even 3-2, which we don't know what this World Cup is going to be. We don't know what is going to get to all of these players with the pretty much the 8 matches in a month scenario that you have to do to win the World Cup. But Ecuador is as defensive of a team. They are comfortable sitting deep. They will punish with electronic counterattacks. You cannot make a mistake against this team. They are entirely intense. And this is a team, by the way, who is in their 5th World Cup. They've been in the last, they were in the one in 2022, but everything has been discentered, by the way, for them. 02, 06, 14, 22, and now 26. 2022, they ended up having the honor of playing Qatar in the opener, where they won, but they were in a tough group. They lost to the Netherlands, and then they drew against the Netherlands, but they lost in the ultimate game of the group stage against Senegal. So they did not make the round of did not make the knockout round, but they're looking for a big run here. And to do that, you're going to need a good player, and one of the best midfielders of the world is in there, and that's Moises Caicedo, one of the top midfielders in the world. Chelsea paid him $150 million of transfer fee to get him. Interestingly enough, he had to have a ruling because he had a second yellow card in the last FIFA qualifier, but it was ruled by FIFA that he can serve that the next FIFA sponsored event that's after the World Cup, so that he can do that. He was actually with Chelsea. He was a FIFA Club World Cup bronze ball and helping Chelsea win the title last season. He is it was on the 2022 team. Caicedo did score the equalizer against Senegal to make it 1-1 in the round of in the game against them, but of course they ended up losing. But this is an interesting player. This is an interesting team, one that is going to be relentless, and talk about them and where I think they're going to finish in a second. Their goalie is Hernan Galindez, played in Argentina in the Primera Division club, naturalized just in February 2019, called up in 2020 as a COVID replacement, made it in the 2021 Copa America tournament, and he's been pretty much in the remainder of that team. He was very good in the World Cup, started goaltender for all three of the nation's matches. So we'll see what happens with Ecuador. I like this team. I like the way they play. I think they have the skills to make a run in the World Cup, and I think you're about to see what I think about them going into it when I make my picks. All right, matches. A lot of first meetings here. In fact, I think there's like 4 first meetings. June 14th, which is the first Saturday of the World. Wait, hold on. 12, 13, the first Sunday of the World Cup. Germany and Curacao will play at NRG Stadium, and then Ivory Coast and Ecuador will play later that night in Lincoln Financial Field. First meeting for both teams. Then the Saturday of the second Saturday of the World Cup, Germany and Ivory Coast meet up in Toronto. They have played each other just once in a 2-2 friendly draw in 2009. Ecuador and Curacao is a later game. That's their first meeting as well. And then they have a 4 p.m. June 25th ultimate day, the last day where simultaneous play happens. Curacao and Ivory Coast first meeting at Lincoln Financial Field, and then Ecuador and Germany. They'll play here in the New York area at MetLife Stadium. Germany has won the first 2 previous meetings. They played in the 2006 FIFA World Cup 3-0, and they won in a friendly 4-2. All right, so Group E winners will play June 29th in Foxborough against any third-place team. Group runners-up get the Group I runners-up in June 30th, so they'll get a very, very short amount of time, but they will play the runners-up of a group that is not great. France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. That's a group of death, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Okay, I like Ecuador to win this group. I kind of think that Germany still has a lot of questions for me. They're not as high of a ranked team as they've been in the past. I think this is a time for Ecuador to kind of steal. Even if they draw Germany in that third game, I think they could steal. I think that match will be for the group on that ultimate day on June 25th. And I think this is the time for Ecuador to kind of take this group and take the pole position going into the round 32. I was kind of flirting with Germany getting there, but I do have Germany finishing second. I'm going to go Ivory Coast third because there's still a lot of questions in terms of what they can do offensively. It's going to be funny. I feel like Ivory Coast Ecuador is just the definition of a 0-0 draw, but maybe not. We'll see. Curacao is definitely going to be fourth in this group. I would like to pick them to go farther, but there's honestly no basis of actually picking them to advance any farther. And I think they're a good story, but when you get here, it's tough on a national stage because teams can get overwhelmed very quickly. Just ask Qatar in 2022, even though they're the host team. Group F is next. Thank you for watching again. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, many other things to come. This is Stephen Rabinowitz. This has been World Cup 2026 Extra Time Group E Preview.